January reminds me of winter, and winter reminds me of Alaska. Alaska reminds me of the Northern Lights. A student has asked to do a painting of the Northern Lights, so I'm going to do a video of the procedure with oils, wet on wet method, from instruction by Bob Ross to help you with that if you desire to do a video or a painting of the Northern Lights. So I'm going to turn the camera now. It's an amazing display of God's creation and how beautiful it is. It can be displayed in so many ways too. Sometimes you just see the green, sometimes the red, the blue, and the green. So of course I would like to make my painting rather dramatic. So I'm going to use 3 of those colors. Sometimes you can see all colors of the rainbow, but we're going to focus on 3 today. Here's my palette. I'm going to point towards my work in my palette so you can see I have cadmium red light for my red, and ultramarine blue and sap green, which are the colors that Bob Ross uses, I believe. Now on my canvas, I have already put a layer of liquid clear on a canvas painted with black acrylic paint. So a third of this is going to be red on top of the liquid clear. A third will be blue. I put the blue beside the red in order for them to mix together, which will make purple. And then I'll put the green over here, and the blue will mix with the green and make a beautiful blue-green color as well. So since we've applied the liquid clear already to the black canvas, we're going to start with the bright red or cadmium red light on 1/3. I'm just going to kind of decide how much a third is and go back and forth all along the canvas as a thin coat of that color. It's not going to cover the black completely. And because brush strokes later, I really don't think it's going to matter which way you run your brush, whether it's horizontal or vertical. But I think you need enough paint on there so that you can see it is red. But it's not going to be bright because it's on the black canvas. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. And we're going to do the blue, the ultramarine blue, right in the middle. I'm going to have to determine how much a third of that is. And you're not going to see that very much at all because blue is so different, or is so much alike the black. But I'm going all the way up and all the way down, and I'm going to mix in with both sides. We're going to overlap with these colors and make other colors because of that. I'm going to go ahead and blend that blue and that red together on the edges there. Rinse my brush again. I could even, if you wanted to use 3 different brushes and then rinse later, you could. Use another brush like this. I'm going to go into my sap green. Start on this edge. A little bit of paint thinner if it's too thick. My paints are rather old. I use the big tubes, and sometimes I don't go through them as fast as I would like to. So we have a tint of green there, and I'm going to go over into the blue somewhat for that bluish green color that I want to come out. Go back to my green and go at the bottom. And you can go horizontal, you can go vertical, but what you're going to end up with are three beautiful colors that are going to come underneath that. I rinse my brush there. Now we're going to go with a fan brush, and I thought I had my fan brush out here. I don't. Maybe it is. Nope. I'm going to have to grab it quickly, and we're going to go into white. I use titanium white sometimes. Sometimes I use zinc white. I like the bristle brush with the oils. You can tell a difference between the bristle brush, fan brush, and a synthetic fan brush. When you're using oils, I prefer the bristle brush because it holds the paint so much better. Now I'm going to dip into my solvent, which is paint thinner, or odorless paint thinner, and I'm going to cover my fan brush with white. Now, to estimate this, I don't like to put the horizon line right in the middle. I like to put it a little bit above or a little bit below. And I was just recently reading about how often painters don't leave enough foreground. So I'm going to go higher with my horizon, and I'm going to put a streak of liquid white in a pattern like you would see in the Northern Lights, and then I'm going to go from there downward symmetrical in order to make a reflection on a lake that I plan to put in there. So also, I don't think we ought to go for the exact middle for where the Northern Lights meet with perspective. Of course, they're going to be further apart up here, and they're going to get closer together toward the horizon. So I'm not shooting for the middle, I'm shooting for off the middle. And it really doesn't matter which side, as long as it's planned ahead of time. Think ahead of time for your composition's sake. So I'm going to start with I'm just going to take my fan brush and go like this with my design. And you can look at photos on the internet of the Northern Lights and see so many different ones. But I'm going to shoot for right off the middle there. I'm going to go back into my white. If it's not thin enough, you can use liquid white, or you can just add some paint thinner to that white. And then I'm going to see they're going to be farther apart up high, and then they're going to get closer because of perspective. And they usually go in a pattern, somewhat of a pattern. Now I'm going to go fill my brush again with the white, and I'm going to come around across here, but I have to go towards the center because the further away you go, the more perspective you see. Okay, now symmetrical, think opposite. And you could do that a different way. You could place your canvas this way, and that might help you to do things symmetrically. And what's going to be in the middle is not going to show, so I'm not too concerned about where those are going to meet. I just want an opposite. And here, so my canvas doesn't fall over. There. And here. Okay. Now to get it in right with my eye, I'm going to put it upright and get the back piece to go up behind. Okay. Now, I'm going to go with a dry brush. Because I have liquid white on the background of this painting, it's automatically going to move quickly. The paint is going to move where you want it to quickly. So I'm going to grab a dry brush. This one's too wet. That one's too wet. This one might be dry enough. Or let's go with a bigger Bob Ross style brush that has some this is a softer brush. Can you see that all right? There you go. This is a softer brush. This is a bristle brush, and this is a softer nylon brush. When you're using dry brush with oils, a softer one often works better. You could use both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull from the white line. I'm going to go upward. I'm trying not to slant. So when I get to a point like this, I'm just going to use part of the brush to go upward. So follow along. I place my brush here, but I go straight up. Place my brush here, but I go straight up. This one's easy because it's horizontal. I see a little bit of white left here, so I'm going to fix that. You see the pink coming through. Okay, now when I get to this vertical line, then I've got to think differently with my brush. I need to go bottom or just the side of the brush up. Now we're getting into the purple. But when I get to here, I can keep it going. Up, slant it a little bit, so I'm going to go up. Now, have a rag handy. I use shop rags. I really think they're the best. I used to use real rags and wash them all the time, but these shop rags are great. They don't leave a residue. So I'm going to go up to the next one. Do the same thing. I might have to pull up on my stabilizer there and go up, 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 up. What you want to see are streaks. If you look at photographs, the streaks sometimes go different directions, but I'm trying to stick with horizontal, no, I'm sorry, vertical strokes here. So this one is going to be extra hard because it's already vertical. I see some yellows there. Okay, now if you wipe your brush, you can do the same thing on the other side. This might get in the way if you have an easel. So one solution to that would be to move your canvas and just realize that it's in the you're going horizontal instead of vertical if you're going to pull it to this side. Whew, isn't that pretty? All right, same here. Now, you can put your full brush there, but just make sure that your stroke goes horizontal. Touch that and then go. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm going to go to the last one. Keep my strokes. Horizontal, just because it's upside down or sideways here. So what we have is our sky and a reflection on the lake. The only difference about the lake, I see some white blobs, so I'm just going to smooth those out. The only difference on the reflection of the lake is you are going to have some reflection that goes sideways, so you can do that for a lake effect. Same dry brush that you did the opposite direction. Whoa. Okay, I gotta get the back piece in order. Okay, it's not the simplest thing to do. It doesn't screw tight, so it sits on it. Now we have a beautiful sky, and we have a reflection on the lake. In order to do a night scene, you have to think it's not going to be as bright, not going to be as stark. And so I'm going to start with green pine trees, but I'm going to mix some blue with that to keep it in shadow. A little bit of white, but not too much. And let's see if that is going to be the right color for our pine trees here. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just dabbing the color in to create a horizon against the sky. Now I'd love to put a mountain in here. The only problem with the mountain is I don't want it to be the focal point. So we can put a mountain in as long as it's small and faded away and it's not too far. I just don't want all the attention to be on the mountain. I would like the attention to be on the sky. So I'm just gonna kind of even out that horizon. We could use tape if you wanted to in order to do that. Now for a mountain, you have to think dark, and we've already got a dark background here underneath this red paint. So I'm going to take my rag and wipe out maybe 3 peaks of a mountain on the horizon, but not far. Now with the palette knife, I don't think it's going to be bright white back there. I'm going to mix a little bit of that blue for snow on the mountain. Actually, a little bit. Then I'll have a little pile of shadow blue, a little bit darker, for the other side of the mountain. but I want there to be snow on it, so you will see it dimly in the background. With atmospheric perspective, you always want to keep your far parts away. I'm going to start with my blue and create some shadows here. Now, with the white that's just dimly blue, or almost a violet, then I'm going to make a few peaks. I think I'll make a peak here. There's one. If you use your palette knife and go sideways with it, you can get just a little ring on your palette knife, enough to make an impression on your canvas. And it has to be loose. It's not loose, it's not going to work. Okay, I'm already seeing places where I'm going to have to put in some shadows. There's another peak over here. Grabs a little bit of that white. And take that blue shadow color, put it right on this side of that peak in order to bring out the natural color. Now, close to the end, we're just going to get fuzzy because this is far away. And you could take that dry brush again. You can go round and round, or you can doppel in order to create a foggy look at the bottom of the mountain. I'm just dabbling right now. I could do this exactly like Bob Ross and follow his videos or video exactly, but I prefer to do my own. So let's go. Now we've got this background of mountains, we have somewhat of a tree line, and this will be a lake in here, so we need a foreground. We could do that by a dark blue, even purplish color, add some red to that blue. Over here, well, we've already got the red, don't we? Bring it down here. And that dark green, I'm going to have to add some more green to my palette in order to get enough to do some pine trees. Remember, everything's going to be darker with it being at night. Okay. So I've got my dark green. Might add a little blue in that in order to make it darker. And we'll start all the way up here. Now I could use my fan brush for here. I want to make a tree along this line. So I'm going to go back to my fan brush, dip my fan brush in paint thinner, and you notice I'm going above my mountains. Right into that sky, I want to make a tree, because if you have your tree the same height as your mountains, your eye is going to get confused. It's called a tangent. You want to go with an eye level that is different on both sides. I'm having trouble defining that. I'm going to have to go darker. There we go. And it's shiny, isn't it? I'm not sure what you're seeing on the video, but because of the liquid white beneath mine, I'm seeing a reflection. It could be from the light. What if I move this light a little bit? That might help. So right now I have a very dark green, and we are going to put some snow on these pine trees to define them more, but they have to have a background first. I'm doing this with the fan brush. There we go. And over here, I think we need that same color just for the darkness of it. It dried a little bit too light there. Now we've got that dark blue. So far we've only had three colors in white. Of course, white isn't a color, it's a tint. We only use that to lighten or brighten. We hardly ever use white by itself, or the effects of it should not be by itself. So I'm seeing a very distant horizon line here. And I've got a pine tree over here that needs some snow. So you remember that white that we mixed with some blue? It can't be bright white. Mix a little bit of that blue with the white. And we've got a night snow, I guess you could call it. Now, whenever you have trouble with the paint applying, you can add paint thinner, or you could add some more liquid white. And I have trouble with making skinny trees, so I on purposely try to make them wider at the bottom. There's some snow on the trees. I'm just going to extend the snow over here too, because the lights from the sky is going to come through. It's going to make the tree light up a little bit more. Kind of hard to find a happy medium there. You don't want it too bright, but you want to be able to see the tree. Okay, so we've got mountains in the background. We have a lake here, which I want to see those reflections. And we can make bushes also in the night, but again, you don't want them too white. You want them to stand out, but not totally bright. And you could make the bushes more of a lavender color underneath the pine trees. And then, how about some snow? Yeah. We could put some snow right on top of that piece of land. So it's going to see the, we'll come back for that. I have to move it out there, put some white, and it's going to blend with the colors underneath, so it's not going to be stark white, but you'll be able to see the snow coming out there. Isn't that beautiful? Now towards back here, you're not going to see as much. You can go with the darker blue or darker violet. Keep your strokes horizontal and with the lay of the land. You'll hear Bob Ross say that all the time, with the lay of the land and the reflections on the sky. There. Now also with your palette knife, I've got several palette knives. This one was just handy. If you take a roll of white paint on the bottom of your palette knife, you can make a simple line. Now I'm going to have to go this way. Can you see that? With that, that's not going to work. Got a little bit of roll there. That's way too thick right in the middle. So I'm going to take my rag, make it thin, and I'm going to bring it underneath those mountains, so there it will define the lake water. Do this with a ruler too to make sure your horizon is straight. That's better. Now how about, I would love to put a cabin in here, but we have mountains and a tree on this side already. If we're going to add something to balance the whole picture, we probably should put something over here. I hate to get rid of these reflections, but I guess I could go into it a little bit in order to put a cabin in those woods. So we could do that by putting a land area in, you almost have to go around a lake, huh? I'm just putting white on there because I know it's going to be snow eventually. To put a cabin in, I could put it where we see the cabin and the lake behind it. That will probably work. So that means I'm going to have to find some brown paint, and I should have had that on my palette. Let's pause and come back to this.